All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Burden of Leadership podcast. I'm here with my boy V, my man T. Can I call you that, or are we just
of course.
Tamien, Vaney?
Who's jumping in?
You call me P?
That's boring.
Listen, my middle name's Joseph. My mom called me Peej growing up. PJ,
Okay.
Peej.
All right, we're not
You
going to
call
do you
me
like
anything,
that.
but just don't call me Peej.
We're not going to do you like that.
Yeah, that ruined my rep. So we want to talk about a topic in this episode of trying to stay focused and energized and routine and keep things moving when the world around us just sucks everything out of us. Physically, emotionally, mentally. You know, we're married guys. How do you keep your marriage going? We got kids. You know, how do you stay invested as a dad when we have the demands of life? And I think there's a lot of things, at least I know that I have in my own life, that have been critical in helping me with that.
Yeah, well, I don't know where you want to start. I'm going to start with the wife, though, for you. Just because I think about this a lot. My wife.
You gonna talk about my wife, or how you talk about your wife, or how I want to do
well,
that?
you and your wife. Just the dynamic, because, you know, what I found with my wife being, quote unquote, a personality or whatever, and whether it be my years of doing music, whether it be community work, business work, or whatever, I've always had a higher profile than the average person. And there's this thing that happens when you're getting after it, you know what I mean, where these other things take so much of your energy that it's easy for those people to feel secondary in our lives. And then there's the other reality of where everyone gets to see the projection of you or the image of you, or however they perceive it. And they might love you, or they might hate you in your case. And then you come home and then there's a person who has to deal with the reality of you. Yes. Right. Yeah, and so like, what is that dynamic like for you when you are the people's?
Yeah. I tell you what, we talked on a previous episode about leadership traits and intentionality, I think was one of the things that we threw out at one point. You have to be very intentional with your marriage when you are a personality. Like, you know, I'm always supposed to be happy, and when I'm on camera, I have to be excited about everything and rah, let's go Sioux Falls, and this is great.
Yeah.
And when I get home, I'm sick of being happy, you know, and I'm just like, I'm just ready to, oh, honey, how's your day? I don't even, you know, it's too much to get into. Do you want to talk about a bid district or a TIF project? It's like, doesn't matter. Yeah. But then I realized I got to be intentional about giving her the same Paul that I'm giving to everybody else, because she's getting shortchanged. And so being intentional about being your true self when you come home, so to my wife, but also to my kids, is something I've gotten better at. But I'll be honest, I fail miserably on it regularly. I mean, she'll attest to that.
Yeah, well, I think we talked in the previous episode, you know, when we spend so much time, energy, and effort around work, average working professional, 50 to 75% of their waking hours. And we had talked about, you know, in our trainings, how folks said less than 3% said they're actively living a life that their kids would want to live. And what's interesting about that, I think back to a period of my life when I was climbing the ladder, right, grinding. You know, we have in America, we're great in so many ways, but we have to get honest about the grind's not good how we're doing it, right? We're just hard work, and just, especially in the Midwest, where, you know, you're a generation or two removed from the farm, where it was just, you got up 5 o'clock, pick rocks, and you didn't complain. But you have to ask, what was the byproduct of that? Like, my mother grew up on a farm, and there wasn't a whole lot of love being shown because dad was too tired, mom was taking care of the chickens and the thing around it, whatever. And, you know, so who are you when you come home? The people that matter the most, because if you said for most people, what's your why, your kids would be on your list, but then they often get left with the least of you. And I can remember moments of when I was climbing that ladder, grinding 60 hours a week, and I would come home sometimes and just lay on the floor and just not have the energy left. And it's like, but I would tell you I'm doing it for my kids. And it's funny in those positions where, again, most of the time those kids have said, I didn't want the extra stuff, I wanted you. And that's a real ideal. How do you find balance in those moments of life, and the things you sign up for is going to require a lot from you, but at the same token, you can't be at the expense of not being present or being there with your kids.
So every leader, every person really has some sort of routine, even if it's a terrible routine or even if they're unorganized, they still have some sort of routine about when they go to bed. I want to get into your routines a little bit. Like,
you get to imagine they're very different.
I know. But I think this is an interesting topic because I always love learning about different leaders and like what they eat and why they don't eat this and why they get up when they get up and when they find quiet time and so forth. So I'll start with you, V, and then you, Tamien. Like, what if someone said, what's a day or two in the life of Vaney look like? And I'm sure there's nuggets in there that give people insight to how you stay energized emotionally, physically, spiritually, all that.
So for me, usually about 5:30, and
AM.
5:30 a.m. Yes, 5:30. I really I haven't had all that great of a relationship with sleep. So sleep is not one of those things like I enjoy.
Let me hold on that note right there. Like a year and a half ago, I'm at the Sleep Number bed store because my back is like I need a new mattress so bad. I'm getting bad sleep, and I'm laying on some beds, and the ding goes on the door because someone walks in. There's Vaney coming in. I'm like, hey, what do you do? He's like, I'm getting such bad sleep. And like, what are we, like 80 years old?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I got to get a good bed. And like, you see the numbers on those things, and it's like, you just get to a certain point where I was like, I'll invest whatever in sleep. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, it's like, if you think I'm killing it now, wait till I get some sleep. Like, I don't really, you know what I mean? And so I've been really working on that heavily. But usually I'm up partly because...
But what time did you go to bed? You're up at 5:30. What time did you go to bed?
Now I'll probably go to bed like 11:30, midnight, something like that. I'm trying to get it earlier and earlier and that type of thing. Because like for most people, you just find it's just more accessible to you in the morning than it is at night, which is where I'm normally more creative. So that's when I write, whether it be music or whatever it is, or if I'm working on content, it's usually later. But for me, I like to let my brain boot up. I'm not a person that can just get up and go to the thing and feel comfortable in the thing. I kind of got to let my brain boot up. And that's also when, if I want to watch the news or any of that type of stuff, I do it early in the morning. So by the time I start the day, I'm out of FOMO. I'm not checking my phone all day, because I'm a big believer in, I'm at where I'm at. So I'm the type of person where you're not going to get instantaneous email responses from me or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. My phone stays in my pocket when I'm doing the thing, and when we're at an organization or whatever, I'm at where I'm at. And so for me, I try to get all of that kind of FOMO out. So all of that, what's going on in the world, I try to know what's going on before I get started there. And then now I live right over here above Queen City. So I go down there and get that tea, usually come over. And if I'm not heading straight to a session, into the office, try to get with everybody on the team, kind of see if there's anything I got to record and get flowing that way.
So you're a tea guy?
I'm a tea guy.
Because this is an important part. Like what people drink in the morning, there's a lot of, it's very important. Like for instance, I know people, if you're listening only, you can't see this. This White Monster Energy, I have stock in this because I drink a lot of these.
Yeah, well, they need to holler at us.
Holler at us. Sponsorship.
We need that.
But you would drink tea, not coffee, tea. not
well,
other.
Number one, like tea is just more calming for me, and I'm more of a person that needs to be zenned out. And then a lot of tea with honey with me. One thing that has always been consistent in my life is my voice is my instrument, it's my tool, it's my whatever. And so getting that tea and honey and just kind of trying to treat my voice on a regular basis. People just do not appreciate what it's like to do a 70-minute set on stage if you're performing. Or, sometimes 2-3 hours. They don't think about what it's like to talk for 6 to 8 hours in a day, all day long, and to have to project in a lot of times, no mic, no whatever. And people don't take care of, their tools, and for me, that's, that is my tool. And then my mind is my tool. So for me, the way my mind works is that I have to be challenged, I have to be motivated, I have to be inspired, I have to be all of those type of things. So, you could walk into my office in the middle of the day and catch me on YouTube for 45 minutes. Because me touching the world, seeing the world, being inspired by the world is what makes me excited about doing things. I'm not a person that's just like, I go find what turns me on, what gets me going, and then that propels me.
How do you start your day? He's 5:30 with his tea and lemon and YouTube. getting the news. What about you?
4 a.m.
4 a.m.?
4 a.m.
No crap.
Which is dialed, I played with it over the years, again, a period of time, talk about the grind, when I used to listen to Eric Thomas, he's in at 3 a.m. And actually heard
Eric Thomas.
Mark Wahlberg's 2:30. Again, but people don't realize, Mark, he goes to bed at 7:30, right? The other side of it. So in an ideal world for me, I'm in bed reading something, dozing into about 9 to 9:30 so I can get a solid 6.5 hours of sleep, up by 6 after it. My life is constructed. So again, a lot of people that know me and see the success that I have, you're disciplined, you're all these different things. I wasn't always this way. I give them one quick story. I got fired from Smithfield. How many people do you know that gets fired from Smithfield? I didn't make it out of 90 days because I wasn't disciplined enough to get to work on time and do all that type of stuff. That was me in my early 20s. And so from that version of myself to now, I've studied leadership excessively. I found that, one of the things that amongst the most successful people in the world, they have a very specific morning routine. And so as I've played with that, I call it my bookends, right? You think about the idea of, a fighter pilot has a specific checklist before he takes off and before he lands because his life's on the line. Well, really what's on the line for us is the difference of living versus existing. So should we have a checklist of how you take off in the day and how you land the plane for the day? So in that, I get up, get my vitamins, I put some earbuds in right away, I have positive affirmations or something going, planted in my head. I get probably 30 to 40 minutes of cardio, about 25 minutes of mindfulness, feed my mind something positive, reading something. So I have about a 2-hour routine, very specifically. If I get these things done in the morning, the chances of me having a phenomenal day is 90%. Mm-hmm. And so very intentional.
But if you miss them, you feel like the whole day's ruined. I might as well go back to bed.
You're chasing your tail the rest of the day because when you have your routine, your brain has a very clear circuitry of, I just got to keep this train going, versus you're off the track initially. You're trying to find the pathway back to that groove and you just can't get there.
See, me, I'm not really like that. You know what I mean? And that is the method to the madness, I suppose, about my crazy all over the place disjointed thing, is that I rarely feel disjointed. I kind of live there, you know what I'm saying? So stuff goes wrong throughout the day, my brain pivots and I just go about the thing. And for me, because touch points with humans fuel me so much that I get bumps all over the place. And that's why I love downtown so much. I double down on it. Because when we were out in the burbs and I was sitting on the back patio having a cup of coffee, that does it for some people. I was bored out of my brains. When I go into Queen City, or I go into Josiah's, or I go into Coffee, or when I go into Source, or when I go into one of those places, or pop into any of these shops downtown, and I generally almost always run into somebody that I care about or that I love, or somebody I'm in league with, or somebody I'm a collaborator with, and we talk about an idea even for a second, or we talk about something that's going on for a second, it's just like do, and it just powers me back up. So I have to do those. That's what gives me the juice, you know what I mean? And so I don't drink coffee and none of that, and I don't even like caffeine. I don't like that artificial juice. I like going in there and talking to people. And I understand people's need with it, and I get that piece of it. It's just it's just a temporary, it's a fix. And for me, when I get with people, that fills my battery.
Well, I'll tell you, people always will ask me too. They're like, "Hey, what's a life hack?" I kind of hate that term. It's very Grant Cardone, but it's like, "Oh, hey, what's a life hack?" And I used to stay up till 11:30, midnight, and started to assess what I was doing from 10 to midnight. And for me, you're creative at night, sounds like. I was not, but I'd be on my laptop and watching Colbert and eating something I shouldn't be. And I was just like, this is not a good use of my waking hours. And so shifting that to what you do, from 9 to 9:30, starting to unwind and then getting up at 4:30. So I've taken those 2 crap hours from 10 to midnight and I put them from 4 to 6 instead. And the phone's not ringing, there's no emails to check, there's nothing going on. That was transformational for me. I mean, for me personally, I know that's not everybody's jam, but for me, front loading my day with those 2 hours was critical. The second thing that has helped me tremendously in just balancing the nuts nature of my life right now is that from 8 to 9:30, I have what it says on my calendar. It says green zone time. And it's based on the book, and I'm going to forget the name of the book, the author, green zone, red zone, yellow zone. You know, when you only have so much time each day when you're at your best. It's impossible for you to be at your best for 10 hours a day. But you know, it's like, it sounds like yours is more in the evening, yours is in the morning. Mine, I start to fade away after 10, 11 a.m. Then I get into the yellow zone where I'm like, I'm okay, I can be in some meetings, I can record podcasts, I mean, I'm not terrible, but my best time is from like 8 to 9, 30, 10. So I have that blocked off, and you have a hard time ever getting a meeting or anything with me from 8 to 9:30 a.m. because I'm in that green zone where I'm emailing and I'm writing documents and I'm thinking, it's just like, I'm just on it. I can conquer the world. But then after like 2 o'clock, you start to move into that red zone where you're like, I'm not real sharp at this time of day. And I don't schedule a lot of important things then because I know I'm not going to be at my best. So knowing that you have, in my case, I have 2 to 4 hours a day when I'm really at my best. I have to base my calendar around that, and my meetings and the stuff I have to get done based around that time when I'm at my best.
Well, this is one of those things that people just don't talk about, and it's like, it's nuance. And even sometimes when we talk to leaders, it's challenging them on even the idea of like working hard, right? People use that term and we love it in the Midwest. It's part of our identity, work hard, work hard, work hard. And one of the things we just give context to people is that if it's always work hard, work hard, work hard, then what happens is you create an environment where it's not work unless it's hard. And then people find a suck in their job. You know, boss comes by and because they have to look like they're working, you know? And for me, that's just not the case. The best thing that anybody's probably ever seen from me, the best piece of content, best performance, best song, best whatever anybody likes that I've produced, almost 100% of the time, I would say nearly 100% of the time, it was less than 45 minutes for me to put it together. Because my life experiences, how I think about things during the day, the things I interact with, being exposed to people, connecting with people, incubates this idea, and it's just produced in that period of time. But it's always being generated, it's always being tested because it's real life, because I'm in real life. And for me, it's one of those things where it's like, most of my day is trying to get out of the way of that. You know, like the answer for me in terms of how you keep going for a lot of people is that I don't really work all that hard. It is not.
There's a quote, that's a TED Talk. I just don't work that hard.
I really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's really one of those things, and like that's part that, like, for me, that's part of the goal for me. Like that's not the point. Everything that I judge myself on, whether it be in work or life or whatever, is based off of impact.
That's why the hustling, grinding, it's like, I don't really love those terms because it implies you're wearing yourself.
Yeah, grind. Whatever good comes from grind.
Yeah,
right. Outside of grind, unless you're a diamond, you know.
Right.
But yeah, the byproduct, but whatever it is you're grinding, it's not going to make it. And that's my thing. Are you in the grind? Right. Because then you're not going to make it. Somebody might benefit from you grinding,
right? But
you won't. But there ain't going to be nothing that you left.
So that's day. So that's kind of day structure stuff. I want to talk about like what you eat.
Oh.
Okay, I know we got to go there, but like, you know, your body is in a temple, and you feel your body. And I think we all have things we're like, I wish I would eat better. But a lot of the people I know are very disciplined, have such disciplined diets and disciplined stuff they eat. For me, like my bottom drawer at my desk, I got granola bars in there, and I got almonds, and I got popcorn, but then I got some Kind bars and things like that are disguised as being healthy, but they're not. But I kind of got a snack all day. I'm not a big meal eater. I don't eat huge meals, but I just eat all day to kind of keep me going and try and start the day with some whey protein powder I usually drink to kind of give me a little shot of protein in the morning. But what do you guys do for physical energy? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, for me, at this moment, I am healthier now at 43 than I have since my 20s. And again, it's the slow things because I've done the, when I'm on a weight loss challenge, I'm gonna go hard and I'm gonna get to where I wanna go, but it doesn't change long term for me. Food still, I still love food, fat is flavor, those type of things. But again, if I can discipline myself in the moments where it doesn't really matter, what I realized, especially owning a business, right? When I eat a juicy burger and fries at a lunch meeting, I just won't be productive in my afternoon. So I have a very clear system that measures my day and how I'm measuring it. And again, I have all the data. And at one point, I had to get honest. You love food more than you want success. I had to look myself in the mirror and say that, because it was factual, because on the days when I had whatever I wanted to eat, I was just less productive. And again, over a month's time, I didn't waste the entire afternoon, but again, it wasn't highly effective. You get, dragging XYZ. So at a point of making sure I'm doing 120 ounces of water a day, for the most part, I do intermittent fasting, don't eat till after 10:30, 11 and stop early, in the evenings. And then again, so when I allow myself to go out, especially when I'm on vacation, eat whatever you want, allow yourself those moments. But, I've gotten to juice cleansing recently. So like 3 days juice cleanse, just to build the discipline of, is your appetite running you, or are you running your life with intention? And so many people were slaves to cravings.
I tell you, when you fast, and not just like the 18-hour fast, but I did like a 72-hour fast once just to see what it was. I mean, I thought I was going to die. And it sounds so silly to say that, but, because there's obviously, we have more food in this country than meat, but going 3 days, it made me realize that I'm a slave to food. Like, we're a slave to eating.
Yeah.
And so what we eat and consume really can dictate how good our day is going to be. And I know that. I hope that doesn't sound over dramatic, but to your point, it's very true. That burger may have been great for your lunch, but it's going to wreck your afternoon, your whole afternoon.
Yes.
Because of that
energy. Energy you take in is going to be the energy you output. And so it's a big deal. I think, obviously the topic of this podcast, the burden of leadership. And we're talking about staying balanced in this space. Tough time, if you sign up to be a leader in any way, shape, or form, you're signing up for a burden to some degree, whether it's responsibilities and XYZ. And moments are going to come. What is your approach to making sure you have some kind of reservoir to tap in, so that way, again, when stuff hits the fan, you lose your stuff, where you can stay balanced when natural disasters happen, or have an issue with a client, or just again when life happens, as it does. How do you make sure that you have enough balance and equilibrium to go through that and make it out the other side, still on track where you want to go, knowing that it's not always going to be on the upside, there's going to be some challenges in that? How do you approach?
I try not to work that hard.
Yeah, there you go. So you have some in the tank. So
my thing is like, a lot of people don't let easy stuff be easy. They want to look like they're doing the thing. Mm-hmm. And to look like they're doing the thing, everything has to be like, And for me, it's like, what did I really? I go in here and I get to talk to these people about this cool thing, and I'm really passionate about it. It helps them in their lives. Like, was that really work? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I sat down with these people and had a meeting with these people about this thing, or I did this interview, or I did this whatever. All things that if you asked me before they were on my schedule, before they were in my responsibility, I would ask you if I could do them. You know what I mean? Hey, can I come to that thing? Hey, can I da-da-da-da? Hey, can I da-da-da? I would ask you if I could do them. Now I get to do them, and just because they're quote unquote a responsibility now it sucks. Now it's whatever. It's just not. That's my thing, and I think the key is not as simple as this, but it's like, let easy things be easy, because hard things are going to be hard.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my thing.
Well, and I think to said another way, you got to, if you're going to be an effective leader, you got to say no to a lot more than you're historically used to saying no to, so that you're not burning up that energy and that reservoir on things that don't matter. And I think that's something that young leaders, we've talked about that in previous episodes. What would you tell young leaders and people who want to climb a leadership ladder? One of the things, the sooner you can learn how to say no, the better. I know we've talked about that before, because it's flattering as you become more and more visible in your career, and your career starts to grow. People want to ask you to, hey, will you sit on this board? Yeah. Hey, will you be part of this? Hey, will you do this? And it sucks to have to say no and say, man, I love you. I love your organization. I think you're doing good things, but I don't have time to meet with you. Keep doing what you're doing. And then they take it as, wow, Mayor wouldn't even meet with me to talk about our new business. I'm like, no, I love it, but it's going to lead to asks, and it's going to lead to stuff I have to get involved with.
I'm not in the right place.
It's going to take fuel from my tank. So that's one thing I think, is saying no. The second thing, though, and it's somewhat related, but not exactly, and that is, having a group of people in your inner circle that can just shoot it to you straight.
There it is.
And just like, who they don't care who you are, they just will give you honest feedback, so that when it does hit the fan and you need help, that not only you have the physical energy, but you have people who are being honest with you and saying, Paul, you're wrong on this, dude. And hey, you got to be more active on this. And hey, why aren't you talking about this? You need to be more visible on this topic. And they don't care that I'm the mayor. They just give it to me straight. And sometimes it sucks to hear it. And I think the higher you get in any kind of leadership pyramid, you get surrounded by yes people who don't want to give you that honest feedback, to say, you know what, Vaney, dude, you're wrong on this. And the way you came across, you look like an absolute jerk. And it's like, to have people in your inner circle who are going to be that honest with you, that's very rare to find.
But that's where you know where people are at, because that's what people want. Like a lot of people don't actually want that, of course. But when you're in that place where you don't know where up is up and down is down, and it all feels like, you know, some type of manufactured, manicured, whatever, the matrix, so to speak, the value, the premium on people who keep it real, but also do it in a way where they know your ear. You know what I mean? They're not saying it just for the sake of saying it. They're saying it in a way that you're going to be best positioned to receive it.
Yeah.
Those people are, and that's why leadership doesn't have to always be up front. Like, those people are valuable, you know what I mean? And those support systems that go into it. I think that is one of the things about leadership that's truly understated, which is good counsel.
Yeah.
If you're a person that provides good counsel, you will be valuable forever.
Amen.
I think for me, there's one big word of being ready for those moments of burden and trial and tribulation is perspective. For me, over the last few years, I've gotten into somewhat of journaling, and one of my practices at the end of my day, I have a gratitude journal. I've never been a good, straight journaler. Made it simple. I have a journal right by my bed, 5 things that are going right with life, 5 things that I'm grateful for. And actually, even recently, our good friend Benson gave me this gift. He had, at the end of his day, he added in, what's life teaching you? I've been doing it for about a week, and it's just one question. It says, what's the life lesson of today? And it gives me stuff to reflect on. And so it gives me perspective of, even when things are going hard, so we talk about it oftentimes, it's have to versus get to, right? I get to do these things. And just by saying that difference, that matters, right? And on the other side of that is, you know, if you really want to be great or have a great life or be a leader or any of these type of things, you got to develop the muscle for this. No one just reads a book and said, okay, I'm ready to take over this organization. It only comes by way of going through the fire. This time, you know, when folks want to get in shape, what are you doing? You go inside the gym, you pay money to go inside a gym to tear your muscles down, to get sore, but when you leave, you like, that hurts so good because I know it's doing something. But when we face that in life, oh man, that tough thing, I'm mentally drained, XYZ, you know what's happening in that moment? You're building the mental muscle to get to that next level. And you just can't skip that, right? Because again, if you were put into that position without that thing, you will fold, you will make a mistake. And so whenever those things get hard, and reflecting back, you know, obviously all of us can relate to this, if I didn't have some of those lessons that several times over, in the moment, it sucked. And I wish I could have fast forward, but I'm glad I didn't, because that gave me the muscle to handle the next thing. You know, the Bible talks about, you know, to those who use well what they are given, even more will be given besides. As any good father, he would never give your kids something they can't handle, but it's not until you learn to develop the skills of that thing, and you just got to go through it. So that perspective help gives you balance of saying, what can I learn in this moment? And we always challenge, you know, trade your whys for whats. Why is this happening for me? Why me, X, Y, Z? When you ask your brain that question, it's going to give you an answer to it. If you trade that why for what can I learn in this moment, you're going to find a lesson in that. And if now all of a sudden you're learning and studying from your own notes of what life has given you, that's going to prepare you for infinite amount of things into the future.
I'll even say with that, another nuance to that is, when you're consistently positive, you naturally create an environment where you diminish the empathy for you, right? Because when you are consistently positive, people start to believe you just come like that, and they don't appreciate the work that you put into it. And a lot of people say those type of things to me all the time because I'm pretty consistently positive. But I always tell them that the difference between us is that, you know, between bad things happening to you is bad things happening to me, is because they obviously both happen to both of us, is that you think bad things happen to you. I think bad things happen. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. Like, I caught a flat tire. It didn't happen to me, it happened. What are you gonna do about it? Like, okay, this thing, it happened. And so I don't internalize those things. It's not God, it's not the universe, it's not whatever aiming things at me. It happens. And so you deal with the things that happen and you move forward. Now, within that is always a lesson available to you, insights that are available to you, the development of skills, being able to deal with difficult situations. This is why I feel so privileged from coming from poverty and the environment that I came from, for two reasons. Number one, perspective. Like, when you could die walking to the corner store, a board meeting is, like, what are you gonna do to me? You know what I'm saying? You know, like, not sign this contract and not do this thing, like, I'll be okay, right? That's the other thing. And the second thing is gratitude, just an infinite amount of gratitude. Part of where my energy comes is that when I talk to people throughout the course of the day, part of the game that I play myself and how I train myself is I try to reverse engineer that person's experience, whoever I see. I see somebody out there, somebody doing the meters for parking. And I think to myself, man, how many steps this person gotta walk? And they're walking this many steps in the winter. And every time they interact with somebody, it's likely negative for the most part. And somebody coming at them with that energy. And this person is walking 5 miles a day, going through this type of thing, and they keep signing up to do it day in and day out there. And immediately I have empathy for that person and an understanding of what they go through and an appreciation for it. And that does so much for me to keep my energy high that very little brings me down that way. And I could go to my fridge and I open up my fridge sometimes. And again, because I come from poverty, like, my mind is blown every time that when you come from a situation where you couldn't eat what you wanted when you wanted, or maybe even eat at all, to an idea where I can open my fridge and there's more food in here than I'm gonna get to. Mm-hmm. It's mind blowing. Mm-hmm. Every time I open up the fridge, all of these things, I take none of it for granted. And so the smallest thing can give you that boost of gratitude. And I don't think there's a more powerful force than gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that's a topic I think about a lot because I go to Haiti, or used to, every year before all the political unrest. It's been a few years, but not only do you have more food in that fridge than most of those people could dream of, but then you got a little piece of plastic in your wallet that you can go get in an automobile and drive to a store and walk in, and it's food for days. It's shelves and aisles and all the food you can imagine. And you can get whatever you want with this card in your pocket. Like, it's incredible. It's incredible to think like that, you know, but that's just our reality. So, all right, to kind of put an exclamation point on this, you know, physical, we talked about stuff we eat. We talked about how we try and stay sharp through what can be a challenging time as a leader. I think the one thing we didn't talk about that I want to maybe end on is talking about how you spiritually stay sharp, you know. I think whether it's meditation, you talked about positive aspirations, or, you know, for me, I try and read a devotional every morning, albeit it's short, but I use the Bible app. So I get up and I work out, and then I go and I spend a little time in that app. I spend a little time in prayer before my day gets started. So I've fed myself spiritually. I've taken care of my body physically. Then I go and eat something. So that's been transformational for me as well, just because I want to start my day with reminding myself of the purpose of why I'm here, you know, what I'm doing, what my calling is, and you know, and why I'm in this office right now to be doing this work.
Yeah. So, for me, it's a little bit of both. Some meditation, some devotionals, some, you know, our own mantras that we have, different things of that nature. My mission, I try to keep that in my mind, which is to teach people how to love, starting with themselves. That's something that's always in my mind. I try to do that each and every day. And, you know, for me, it's like, at least from our business, all of the things that we do are based on faith. Like, nothing that we are doing makes sense. Like, if somebody just looked at our business model as like we presented it to them like a business plan, what are you talking about? Are you nuts? You're gonna do some media, you're gonna do some community stuff, you're gonna do some business stuff, and it's all based on faith. Like, we believe in what it is that we're doing. And that's where I go back to the idea that if you do the work of making your vocation, your occupation, and connecting those things, there's not really a separation in that. You know what I mean? I get intimate with gratitude and faith every single day, and it's rewarded every single day. Like, you know, I don't care how people want to communicate it, God, the universe, whatever. I'm intimate with that force every single day. Every day, there's somebody from our Justice Impacted group that says, man, I'm different now. You know, I'm back. I got my kids back. Thank y'all. Somebody says, I got out of a toxic relationship. I'm in a healthy place now. Somebody says, hey, we saved somebody from killing themselves into jail because of whatever. That I am rewarded in faith every single day.
And thus reminded of your purpose.
Every day. Okay? Well, that's another one. We appreciate you so much. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. It's not enough that you just like and subscribe. We need y'all to share, make sure people are in on this, and make sure you are set up. Hit that notification icon so you can get these as soon as they are available. It's VPTH&T. Good to see you, and until next time.